In this class, we are going to continue our discussion about the male reproductive system. So in male reproductive system, we had studied about two parts, and those were the testis as well as the scrotum. And in the testis, we had studied up to the vasa efferentia. So we had studied about the seminiferous tubules, and also we had studied about the rete testis. And after the rete testis, the structure which was formed after the rete testis was the vasa efferentia. And from this class, we are going to continue after the vasa efferentia, that is from the epididymis. So in our previous class, we had seen the diagram and we saw that this vasa efferentia of the testis joins a certain tubular structure, and that is called as epididymis. So we are going to study that epididymis, what are the structure and what are its function. So first of all, the epididymis is a highly coiled tube. It is very coiled tube, and it is very long also, about 6 meters in length. And its body or its wall is muscular, and we will see later that this muscular wall helps in the ejaculation of sperm. So it also gives rise to certain types of peristalsis or segmental movement too. So its wall is a very muscular, it is around 6 meters long, and it is very uncoiled, and its main function of that is the epididymis is to store and nourish the sperms. So the sperms before ejaculation normally are stored in this epididymis part, and at the time of ejaculation, by the rapid contraction and the various muscular movements shown by the wall of the epididymis, that push the sperm out of the body. So there are lots of other structures also involved in pushing the sperm out of the body, but epididymis also helps in this through the peristaltic and segmental movement. So let's see what this ultimately the epididymis is and what it is definition. So these are a pair of highly coiled muscular about 6 meters long ducts and formed by the union of vasa efferentia. So we had seen that vasa efferentia formed from the that was formed after the rete testis, and after the vasa efferentia, when they join or they flow into this structure which is called as epididymis. So this epididymis is formed by the union of various vasa efferentia, and it is 6 meters long, it is muscular, it is highly coiled, and after that it stores and nourishment. This is the major function of the epididymis. So this is the main point over here. It stores and nourishes sperms until ejaculation. And if ejaculation does not take place for a certain time, say for a few days or a few weeks or a few months, then the sperms are broken down, and those are also broken down in this part, that is sperms which are not ejaculated for a certain period of time or a certain time interval are broken down. So if the sperms are ejaculated, then these sperms will not be broken down, but if there are certain time interval like of a few weeks or a month, so the sperms might be broken down after that. Then this epididymis is differentiated, or we can say we recognize three parts of the epididymis. First of all, we have the top part of the epididymis, and that is called as caput epididymis, or it is also commonly called as the head of the epididymis, because it is at the topmost portion, because obviously head is referred to the topmost portion. So the topmost portion of the epididymis where the vasa efferentia join it, so that portion is called as caput epididymis, and just below that, that is the central portion, that is called as corpus epididymis, or that is also called as body. So this is the middle portion of the epididymis, and the lowermost portion of the epididymis is called as cauda epididymis, or it is also called as tail. And after the epididymis, we have to study about a certain structure which is called as vas deferens. So vas deferens arises from this cauda epididymis or this tail of the epididymis. So these are the three parts of the epididymis, that is head, body and tail. This is the topmost, middle and lowermost portion of the epididymis, and obviously from where vas deferens arises. Now peristaltic and segmental movements. So these are the two types of movement that you must have studied in your 11th muscles part, that is in the chapter in which you had to study about muscles. you might have studied about the peristaltic and the segmental movement. So these are the two types of movements which normally takes place in the smooth muscles in the walls of alimentary canal, or here also likewise a few other places. So these two types of movements occur because of smooth muscles, and those smooth muscles could be longitudinal as well as the circular transverse muscles. So various kinds of muscles are present at the various places like in the alimentary canal and also in this part. So these two type of movement take place at the time of ejaculation. So for ejaculation to occur, sperm must move through the epididymis. So this pushes the sperms, or it forces the sperm out of the epididymis. That is this peristaltic and segmental movement. Now you must have been confused about two terms, and that is testis and testicle. So this is the difference. Testis and testicle. So when we talk about testis, we do not include the epididymis normally. So the difference between testis and testicle is that when we say testicle, we are including the testis as well as the epididymis. But when we normally say only testis, so in that case we do not include the epididymis. So when we will normally be talking about the testis, we will not include the epididymis, and when we will be talking about the testicle, we will be including the epididymis. So this is the difference between testis and testicle. So after this epididymis, from the caudal part, a structure arises which is called as vas deferens. So this structure arises from the cauda epididymis. So this is also a muscular tube, and its wall is very thick, and it is not as long as the epididymis because it is not coiled. It is a straighter tube, or you can say a very uncoiled tube. So in shape it is just opposite. This is a highly coiled tube, and this is non-coiled or uncoiled, or rather straight tube, but it is very long, around 6 meter. It is around 30 to 35 centimeter in length. So in length it is very much smaller than that. So as you can compare these both, 30 to 35 centimeter, we have 6 meter. It is very shorter as compared to that, and it is also uncoiled, whereas it is highly coiled. So it is also thick walled, and it is thick walled because of the muscles. So this muscle also helps in the ejaculation of sperm. So just like here, when the muscles were contracting, they were showing peristaltic or segmental movement, they were pushing out the sperms. Likewise here also, this thick walled muscular tube will push out the sperm at the time of ejaculation. So both of these structure help in the ejaculation of sperms. Now we come to the lower part, that is the vas deferens part. So it arises from the lower part of the testis, but it goes upward, and we know the structure which was responsible for the hanging of the testis or suspension of the testis, and that structure we had known that was known as the spermatic cord. So this becomes a component of spermatic cord. So spermatic cord includes the various arteries and the various blood vessels, and also some collagenous tissue and connective tissue, nerves including, and now this also is a part of spermatic cord. So when it comes out of the scrotum or out of the testis, that is, it rises upwards, in that part it is a component of the spermatic cord. So whatever I have underlined are the main points over here. So always remember whatever I have underlined, those are the very important points over here. So it becomes a component of the spermatic cord, and obviously we know that the scrotum is connected to the abdominal cavity through a canal, and it was known as inguinal canal. So obviously when it is coming above, or it is rising upwards, it will be going through the inguinal canal and entering the abdominal cavity. So after entering the abdominal cavity, it loops over the urinary bladder, that is, it goes over the urinary bladder and comes down again. So when it comes down So when it comes down, it joins a duct from a very important gland, and that is known as seminal vesicle. So when it loops over the urinary bladder and comes down, it joins a duct from the seminal vesicle and not from the bladder. It first joins a duct from the seminal vesicle and it forms a certain structure, and that structure is called as ejaculatory duct. So this ejaculatory duct is formed by the union of the duct of seminal vesicle. We will study about seminal vesicle, prostate gland and bulbourethral gland in detail. So this is a very important male accessory sex gland. So its duct and vas deferens both combine and they form this ejaculatory duct. And you can imagine, as from the name ejaculatory, it has certain role in ejaculation. So vas deferens, it mainly conducts the sperm. So we have to compare the function. Its main function is conducting sperm. Its main function is storage and nourishment. So it can also store and nourish, but it is not the main function. It can also store and nourish. It also stores and nourishes. It can also conduct. It can also conduct. But the main function is just opposite. Its main function is storage and nourishment. Its main function is conduction. Its secondary function is conduction. Its secondary function is storage and nourishment. So the functions are same, but the main function and the secondary functions are opposite. Its main function is conduction. Its main function is storage and nourishment. Its secondary function is storage and nourishment. Its secondary function is conduction. So don't confuse between these two. Many students do confuse between these two and think that the functions of these two are same. No, they are not the same, because its main function is storage and nourishment. Here its main function is conduction. Now we come to the other part, and a very important line is there. So we had studied about the primary sex organ and the secondary sex organ. So primary, or the main part, which is the testis, and the secondary or accessory sex organs, or the helper sex organs, or the helper structures, which ultimately help in some form or the other in the process of reproduction. So here again we are coming to the accessory part. So retitestis, epididymis, and also the vasa efferentia, all these structures are ultimately forming a duct or a passage or a pathway for the flow or the passage of sperms. That is why these all parts, that is the retitestis, epididymis and vas deferens, until it joins the ejaculatory duct, not after that. So these three parts are together called as male sex accessory duct. So you have to remember this part. It is a very important point. So when we call something as male sex accessory duct, it means that this duct conducts, or it picks up sperms from its site of production. And we know what is the site of production of sperms, and that site of production of sperm is the seminiferous tubule. And now remember where sperms were formed, that is in the seminiferous tubule. After that, what was the structure which was joining the seminiferous tubule? Then the structure which was joining the seminiferous tubule was the retitestis. So you can see here retitestis. So right from where the sperm has been produced, so this accessory duct has picked up the sperm from its site of production, and from there it is conducting it. So it is a accessory duct. It is not the site of production of sperm or any other, or some very important activity related to the production of sperm. It is mainly related to the storage, nourishment and conduction of sperm. So this is the main function. If we talk about the function of the male accessory duct, we have to say about storage, nourishment, conduction. So this is the main part or the main function, because for which the male accessory ducts are present. So remember this point. These three structures are male sex accessory duct. Their combined function is storage, nourishment as well as conduction of sperm. So this is the main part. Now we come to the ejaculatory duct, and from the name you can understand it has something to do with ejaculation, or the passage of sperm during the sexual activity, that is the ejaculation. So from the name we know its main function would be in the terms of in the working of ejaculatory part. So its main function is ejaculation only. Now it is formed by the union of vas deferens and duct from the seminal vesicle. The same thing we had studied earlier. So ejaculatory duct is formed by the union of vas deferens and also duct from the seminal vesicle. So when these two ducts, the vas deferens and the seminal vesicle duct join and they form this ejaculatory duct. So obviously it is helping in ejaculation. Now it passes through the prostate gland. We are going to study about seminal vesicle, prostate gland and bulbourethral gland later. So we are going to study of that. There is a structure which is called as urethra. That urethra passes through the prostate gland. And this ejaculatory duct, not the vas deferens, not the duct from seminal vesicle, but they have joined to form ejaculatory duct, and that ejaculatory duct joins the prostatic part of urethra. We are going to study about the prostatic membranous penile part of the urethra. So the first part of the urethra is the prostatic part of the urethra, which is mainly in the prostate gland or around the or in the center of the prostate gland. So that prostate gland part of, or that is called as prostatic urethra, from where it joins, that structure becomes a linear or a single structure which is called as urinogenital tract or urogenital tract. So first of all, vas deferens joined the duct from the seminal vesicle to form the ejaculatory duct, and that ejaculatory duct joins the membranous or the prostatic part of urethra from where it is called as urinogenital tract or urogenital tract. We can understand it from here. Suppose this is the vas deferens, that is VD. We can understand better like this. Suppose this is the vas deferens. Now there is something called as seminal vesicle. A duct will come here and both these ducts will join. And now when these ducts join, it is called as ejaculatory duct. So duct from that is vas deferens and from seminal vesicle. Both these joined and these formed ejaculatory duct. And now this ejaculatory duct joins the duct from the urinary bladder, that is the urethra. And now this urethra, this is called as urethra, and it forms a single urogenital tract that we are going to study over here. So first of all, vas deferens join the duct from seminal vesicle to form the ejaculatory duct. And now a duct comes from the urinary bladder, and this is called as urethra. And when the ejaculatory duct is joining the urethra, the structure which is being formed is known as urogenital tract or urinogenital tract. Both mean the same thing. So it's actually a passageway or a pathway of sperm. So when we talk about urogenital tract, it is not only for conduction of sperm, it is also for conduction of urine, as the name suggests, that is urinogenital or urogenital. So what does it mean? This urogenital tract or urinogenital tract is responsible for passage of both, that is the sperms or the semen and also urine. So this part is responsible for conduction of the sperms as well as the urine. But before that, that is up to this ejaculatory duct, only sperms will come. But from here, sperms as well as urine both will come. So from this urinogenital tract, ejaculatory duct is formed of fibrous, muscular and columnar tissue. So here fibrous, muscular and columnar, you can imagine very well why. Fibrous means it will be strong, that is fibrous means yellow elastin fiber or white collagen fibers will be present over here. Muscular why? Because contraction will occur to ejaculate the sperms. So it is muscular because it has to contract to ejaculate the sperms. And also columnar epithelium. You are going to study about, you might have studied about epithelial tissues, that is cuboidal epithelium, columnar epithelium, and also squamous epithelium, stratified epithelium, pseudostratified epithelium, and there are various other types of like ciliated epithelium. So here we have columnar epithelial tissue. So all these types of tissues are present in the urinogenital tract, or you can also say in the ejaculatory duct. So it is very much contractive. And why does it is very much contractive? Because it has to ejaculate the sperm. So ultimately ejaculatory duct is formed by the union of vas deferens and seminal vesicle. The first point, now it passes through the prostate gland and joins the prostatic part of urethra. So that is, it has joined the urethra part, and here a gland is present which is called as the prostate gland. So both these have joined and become the urinogenital tract or the urogenital tract. And now this ejaculatory duct is formed of three types of tissues: fibrous, muscular, and as well as columnar epithelial tissue. And why it is muscular? Because it has to contract and it has to push the sperms outside, so that ejaculation can take place. So now we have studied from the seminal vesicle. First of all, we have studied about seminiferous tubule. Then we studied about reti testis, vasa efferentia, epididymis, vas deferens, and ejaculatory duct. After the ejaculatory duct, the main part is the urinogenital tract, and that is also called as urethra. So urethra is a common passageway for the sperms as well as normally it flows the urine. So from here now, the structures which we will study, so there two things will be flowing, that is the sperms or the semen and also the urine. So after this we are going to mainly study about the urethra part. So urethra is differentiated into certain parts, and also we are going to study about one more organ which is also the male external sex genitalia, and that is called as the penis. So only two parts are remaining in this part, and that is the urethra and also the penis.